Good morning, John. I have literally just woken my ass up again.
Can you hear me all right like this?
Yeah, hold on, lad. I just gotta put my own volume up because I was listening to videos at 5 o'clock this morning. Okay, talk?
I do.
Yeah.
I've never watched this dude Dan Winter, right? This is
Nick did back in 2013, 2014, 2013, I think. Nick was actually watched a bunch of Dan Winter stuff. I'm pretty sure.
well, I'm almost as in love with this dude as I am with Jordan Peterson, right? But I'm sitting there and he's explaining DNA and its electrical slash energetic display
Huh.
and how they've got it all mapped out, right? So I posted three things I think up in our group chat with Randy and Emily.
Yeah, I saw the video, the Dan Winter video.
Yeah, so one of them was his video, and it's from the 13-minute mark, and he starts talking about the makeup of DNA.
Uh-huh.
Right. So let me just I'll see if I can do a screen share. Right. Bottom screen share. So you can see that, right?
Hold on, it's coming up. Yep, okay, got it. You gotta get rid of your Zoom
Oh,
pictures in the middle of the front there.
this one.
Yeah, just knock that down so it's out of the way.
That one doesn't need to be there. Right. So he starts talking and basically listening to the interview, he's talking about how the energy comes together, forms. So this over here, if you can see my mouse, which is a
Yeah,
dodecahedron,
yeah,
is the vertical, is the looking down it, right? Looking down at the
yeah,
tube. This
yeah,
one here is the kind of side view. But see this over here, D? So one rung of the ladder of DNA, golden mean pentagram to hex to golden mean rectangle, right? So you've got a nonlinear hydrogen bond which is set here.
yeah,
Look at these shapes. You have a hexagon
yeah,
and a pentagram. Yeah?
yeah.
So if I go back to here, we go to fullerene. You know what a fullerene is, eh?
Yep,
So it's an icosahedron, which is hexagon
yep,
and pentagon.
yep.
So what we have is a direct correlation between C60, the specific C60, and our DNA.
Huh.
Like a direct. So basically, what you're seeing here with these hexagons and pentagons is basically, so that's one rung, which is that many. So in a icosahedron, there are 40 hexagons and 20 pentagrams.
Right.
So it's 20 of those, which is basically your 20 strands on your DNA.
That's interesting. Have you talked to Philip about this?
I haven't talked to anyone. I only came through this morning and I just went, holy shit. But in that Dan Winter video, fractals, DNA, and golden mean rah rah rah, from the 13-minute mark. In fact, let's just quickly do this together because there's a bit in here. Okay. Well, basically, yeah, he goes into the maths here and how it equals itself. But see, you look at these pictures that he's given us here. So you've got a dodecahedron that is created from these things here, the pentagrams and that circling around each other. So they spin in that spiral and make that helix.
Yeah.
But they are literally like right down to the point. So if you burnt out this non-linear hydrogen bond at the center, which actually ties them together, right? Then they'd start joining up and create a fucking C60 molecule. We'll be able to fold a C60 molecule out of 20 of its parts.
Interesting.
And of course, what the C60, as Cliff says, is the molecule that stores hydrogen inside it and then traps it inside of it. And then it goes into your cell and pulls everything out. So this is starting to lead into my whole thing that basically when you carbonize or carbonize organic matter, it'll show up in these sacred geometric shapes. And now it's starting to look like C60 very much could be a neutral DNA strand.
Almost like a filler?
Or,
Like a filler?
Like if you put into what Cliff was talking about, right? So he's talking about the bloop, whatever he calls it.
Yeah.
Blip. If when that blip, that 21 trillion blip reaches capacity, hydrogen is born, right?
Right.
So what if down here it's all free energy, right? But carbon essentially learned to form, because that's what it is. It's carbon forming together. So you've got like your nanotubes and then your fullerenes, them all different shapes. Those different shapes literally will store until they reach capacity certain energies, and then they can either go biological. You know what I mean? If enough form together, and it's just literally like, you know, the order of things, and or they go inert, which is to carbon. So you've got hydrogen, which is the energy, and carbon, which is starting to look like the storage. And then it's carbon that's forming together. But this whole C60 thing coming out, and this shape is like, you can make the icosahedron very simply from DNA. Just by removing the hydrogen bond.
Okay, but here's the thing. So, as we discussed, the whole thing about the C60 and the radiation.
Yep.
Right? Is almost calling it like the neutral. Like you say, like the neutral DNA. Yeah. Is I'm gonna call it is it the stem cell?
Well, no.
The stem. Well, no. What I'm saying is, the stem cell, as in programmable to be anything.
Yeah.
So if you're dealing with radiation, which can mutate DNA,
yes,
then the reason why perhaps the C60 is working so well is because it is the stem cell that goes in and undoes the mutation and forms the latter piece, if you will. And my phone's ringing. Hold on. My house phone is ringing.
Shit cropped up, and I was like, our DNA, like if you were to, I don't know how you do the test, get DNA and carbonize it, and or get enough C60 into a hydrogen. Oh, fucking hell. I might need to tell these guys to actually be careful. Fuck. Because essentially what they do, right, to make C60 now is they create a vacuum sealed chamber.
Right.
They pump out all the oxygen. They insert 2 graphite rods that almost touch each other, and then they put a charge, or then they fill the vacuum with helium, and then they arc it. So they send a charge through it, and it blasts it apart, okay? So that helium essentially is acting as the solvent. But this is not a really precise way. So I had this theory because one of the guys that we're doing work with has got what is called a hydroxy reactor, right? So it's a platinum chamber. Platinum chamber with these electrodes in it, and it floods the chamber with hydroxy acid that then burns whatever the fuck it comes into contact with, and depending on what it burns at different temperatures. Okay. Which I'm sitting here going, wow, this is starting to sound like like how you test for ormus. You have to hit the temperature for it to show itself, right? For the different elements to show themselves.
Right.
So what it's now starting to look like is when he burns different organic matter right down, because at the moment he's doing coal, right? Because they want him to fucking see if he can do clean coal. But he said that he's just done coal and the temperatures were way, way, way lower. Like he can get up to 3,000 degrees Celsius with no extra add. It just happens. It just happens by this chemical reaction, right?
Uh-huh.
But when he was doing tires, I think it said, he was getting up to like 3,000. So what we're thinking is we're going to give him some graphite to burn. And we're going to see what temperature that comes out, because they're getting around, it's around 1,000 degrees, I think it is, the arc that they get in the normal thing. But it's in what Spiros is doing is in a hydrogen atmosphere. So it's not in a helium, it's in a hydrogen. So what I was like is, if fullerenes are created, they'll be created and they will clump because of the hydrogen, because the hydrogen will fill them and they'll go, which is why they have to stir it for so long to suspend it. They've got to keep stirring it. So because the water or the hydrogen is broken by the oils, right? Like that's what separates it. So, but then this thought is that if C60 has a potential energy capacity, really talk to anybody about, which is the potential for C70 to actually be the energy storer, like electrical energy storer.
We have touched on that.
So, well, the thing that me and him were chatting about, right, was this thing that me and him have been talking about, and he's seen it happen and yada yada, and it plays into different things. And I think I've mentioned it to you, which is the mirrors. Okay, so if you get mirrors at sunrise and you can get them off a 45 degree angle off of sunrise and then bounce it off another 45 degree mirror, and basically atomize water in that area, you will open a portal. And what he told me is essentially that at some point someone left one of these mirrors on.
Right, and that's what happened with the whole thing with the
floods.
The Great Floods, yeah.
So what we were talking about is because the C70 is a dodecahedron.
Right.
It's a C70. But me and him wanted to work out the angles of what a dodecahedron is, because they could be 45s.
Yeah, I wouldn't even, I'm so no idea on geometry for me.
But if they're 45 angles, D, then technically they have the potential to be mirrors, energetic mirrors, like magnetic mirrors. So if you were to put a pulse of energy into it, it would bounce around in there exponentially. And by putting enough C70s together, you could store exponential amount of energy.
Yes.
And once again, as your DNA from the vertical looking down the tube is a decagon. It's 10-sided. Dodeca is merely the 3D version of a
Yeah, I get it. Trust me, I don't speak that geometric language either.
So it's really starting to, like, the shapes are starting to create form. It's like what I've started thinking is like look, literally, if you were to carbonize, or if that's what's happening, is the organic DNA and whatever it is being burnt. Like let's just say the DNA of graphite is being burnt, and as it gets burnt, it goes into that shape, and in biological form, it goes and spreads out. So it's like closed, open, and the open is like that, and the closed is folded in. Because you burn it, you're taking out the hydrogen, so then the links are all forming. And then I'm going to get, one of our friends has got this little 3D printer. I'm going to get these little things printed out. these shapes